with me here of the Green Party of Pennsylvania. And he also does some work with the Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival. Thanks for being with us, Carl.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
And so anyway, I have this show going on. I call it the Pothead News, and I like to touch on subjects, and sometimes I like to touch on subjects that are, interrelated here and there that have to do with cannabis, and sometimes don't. I don't know. You can share with me whatever you like, but I've already steered this in another location. I'm already going, oh yeah, I'm ready to open up a can right here.
It's all fine. Subjects, I've got opinions on many of them. So.
Oh man, so legalization in Pennsylvania, for or against? That's so simple.
Well, I'm always for
Against.
the liberalization of cannabis
Cool,
laws,
I don't have to
of
kick
course.
you out of my tent then.
Well, it would be awfully rude.
I'm for it. I'm against it. Get out of my tent!
I have a long tradition of supporting cannabis rights, and was actually a board member, and then for a short time interim director of Pennsylvania NORML.
Oh, sweet.
Back in the early part of the 21st century, with cannabis reform legend Diane Fornbacher, who publishes Ladybud magazine.
Right.
Her roots are in Pennsylvania, and she and I were standing up for cannabis reform when she was just a child, just a kid, coming out of high school.
Wow, man,
because
you're
of
dating yourself now.
her experiences with cannabis.
You look so young,
Well,
though.
she's a remarkably healthy woman because cannabis has been an important part of her life. So
Right.
That's what, and plus her spirit is pure, and that means a lot. Also among the early reformers in Pennsylvania NORML was Dan Klock, himself a cannabis POW, in that he did time because somebody ratted him out for farming, and had that affect his life and where things were going, just because he was growing a plant. Dr. Julian Heiklin, a libertarian from State College, was also an early board member of Pennsylvania NORML, as was Ann McCormick, mother of Todd McCormick, who was a board member. So in just my overt and public activism from the time I retired from the Pennsylvania court system, I've been at the heart of cannabis reform.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been talking this way since the 70s, but the Green Party years are something different. I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, one of 7 children, the son of a newspaper reporter who covered JFK's campaign. So even as a young child, there was a sadness, a grief I experienced when President Kennedy was killed. And then flash forward to everything I've seen and done and learned over the years, and the incessant resistance on reason when it came to talking about anything our country was doing from the days of the Vietnam War to the present is just this absurd pack of lies where a wealthy group of contractors and outright villains have been running the world. And by the year 2000, I was a Democrat. When I registered to vote, I registered as a Democrat because I came from a family of Democrats. And There was only one time in my entire old life, as you can tell, I'm an old goat. There's only one time in my life that I changed my party registration, and that was the day after Election Day 2000. My vote for Nader in 2000 was cast as a registered Democrat, just for the record. And when you see the awful path that our country has taken, from the Supreme Court doing the outrageous, reprehensible act of stopping the Florida recount and appointing President Bush, is
Bush.
Just
He said Bush.
inexcusable in 2000.
Right.
Yes, President Bush. All of a sudden, his war criminal lies and all of the deaths here and abroad that came with these previous administrations continues to be ignored over stupid shit, because he gave Michelle Obama a piece of candy, while the world suffers, and as the world suffers, we all suffer. And that's true in Pennsylvania with cannabis laws. There are still people that suffer because of prohibition. There are still things that any reasonable free citizen should be allowed to do, like grow and like freely possess cannabis without having to make an excuse or run the fear of everything because the big boot of the law is going to stomp on you.
Yeah, it's really unfair the way things are set up here.
That's a problem, and that's my biggest problem with what I call the so-called reform, is because we keep leaving behind the people who are victimized by prohibition itself. People losing liberties because it could be charged with paraphernalia, junk science being applied to accuse people of being cannabis intoxicated when driving, even though there's no real cause to make such a charge. The altering of statistics so that every car accident, regardless of what the person was doing, coke and crack and smack and alcohol, if there was any THC that was detected in their ultimate results, it's called a marijuana-related crime in the terms of certain
that's in your system for 30 days. How do you call that?
Statisticians. So we're still losing that debate, and we're still not having the fundamental debate and asking the question as to why free citizens cannot interact with this blessed plant that the earth has given us, that civilizations have cultivated, that has shown amazing promise. Even if at the very extreme of the argument you want to be one of those narrow people that would say any kind of benefit is imagined, so be it. It still isn't hurting anyone as much as prohibition hurts. So as different aspects of the law change, as we move toward legal medical cannabis, now a lot of the medical patients who were always there to plead in the name of humanity for getting us medical cannabis.
Are they awful people? Does it make you an awful person? Does it make you turn you into a bad person to consume cannabis?
Oh, for God's sakes, no.
Doesn't it? I mean, doesn't it make those kind of patients? Wouldn't that make them unacceptable with their families? It'll turn them into something because it's a gateway drug or something that's going to make you go and do bigger, badder things, right?
Well.
That's what I've been told. I don't know. How about you? I think it's bullshit.
You see all of that written.
Right? I'm not such a bad person. I mean.
Well, again, let's compare substances. We often hear the connections between alcohol and tobacco, which kill hundreds of thousands of Americans every year.
Right.
And that's not counting traffic accidents that are alcohol inspired, because of the absolute debilitation of an alcohol high, if you will. That's what being stoned and a danger and making you problematic to the rest of society really lies, with addiction. The fact that you crave these chemicals, or substitutes for them. When I say chemicals, I mean pharmaceuticals or street drugs.
And then you choose to do bad things and wish to acquire the means to buy them. You know, that's it goes
yeah.
down the line. How many people are doing
There's a
bad
whole
things to get
culture
by?
that goes with that.
Right.
And so you have to ask yourself,
Scum
in
and
looking
villainy.
at that first, where is such an epidemic coming from? And beyond the obvious of the way chemical addictive drugs are pushed on us all the time.
Oh, hey, cigarettes, man. Cigarettes, they're addictive.
Well, but I'm
do
talking
nothing
about
for
the
ya.
serious things
not even
that
a real
are
drug,
causing death.
Right? It is causing death.
Right, chemicals
a mess.
cause.
And all the crap in the cigarettes, but anyhow, yeah. The other chemicals are even worse.
Yeah, I'm just
Heroin.
trying to talk about one substance
You got
at a
something
time.
evil? Okay, good.
Again, we've got all of this pathology around us and no sense. And what is the thing they vilify? The thing they vilify is the plant that unites people along all different political persuasions. Because a lot of people are seeing the wisdom in changing cannabis laws, because in one way or another they have seen it affect their families, even if it's on the periphery. And secondly, because people are starting to get educated and understand it's not really something you have to fear. But I caution us deep down inside to be cognizant of the depth of the argument, and don't let these false reforms that are full of regulation be a panacea that's going to liberate us. Because we can't really liberate ourselves from anything until we tell the truth and until we realize that we're all in this suffering together so we could get ourselves out of it together. In our current political environment, everything has to go through some kind of a red-blue filter so that you take up sides, and so that it no longer becomes about what's right or wrong, it just becomes about what's red or blue. And anything else is vilified. And so we need citizens. People look at it, say, how could you support such a small party? They get such small proportions of the vote. But the fact that we're out there and we're saying that, and we're saying, look at the truth, that is something that we have to apply to every aspect of our lives. And it begins with us realizing we're not each other's enemies. So stop trying to size people up on.
Oh, you're a liberal. Oh wait,
right.
no, wait. Oh,
Right.
you're a Republican. You're conservative.
Forget
right? There's lines, right?
You're my neighbor.
Oh my gosh.
You're my friend. You're another person.
You know, it's terrible. Liberals are terrible.
You know, you
right?
might
Conservatives horrible.
You might like think that Donald Trump is the next best thing to toast, but you have an adorable grandchild.
Gosh,
I'd rather relate to you through your adorable grandchild than through whether or not you like Donald Trump. Because if you do, there's an entire sociology to that. But we don't have time for that bullshit. We need each other. So if we want cannabis reform, if we want society reform, and if we want the country we think we deserve, we have to make it, we have to take it. And if what we've got is what we deserve, that requires us to look at ourselves and say, who the fuck are we? Thank you.
And don't be a bad person, right?
That's right. And I am not a Russian agent.
No, I'm not a bad person. But like, look in the mirror, I'm not a bad person.
nor
Don't be
have I
bad
ever been
people.
to
Don't be
Russia.
evil to other people.
Yeah.
Thank you for
So-
coming on my show, man. Like,
Anyway,
you-
yeah,
I
hey.
got more stuff here, you know.
Look. We've got to free the bud. We've got to free the plant, and we've got to free the people. And it won't happen till we free our souls.
Right.
And if we want to free them, we have to look down inside and say what's the truth. When we do that, we'll know what to do.
Right.
Peace.
Thanks.